Thanks, Grant. Now, I'll be up on stage for a while as I am joined by Ben Dixon. He's the Head of Retail Media and Partnership at QSIC, and of course the wonderful Mia Horner, who's the GM of Customer Loyalty at Coles Liquor Group. So we're going to be talking about a form of retail media we haven't discussed yet today. It's a really innovative one. So, welcome to the stage. Let me transition to the top chair. Welcome. Let's do a bit of an intro before we kick off, Mia.
Thanks, Rosa. So I'm Mia Horner and I'm GM of Customer at Coles Liquor Group. So that's Liquorland First Choice and Vintage Sellers. So my role looks after brand and content, it looks after exclusive brands, retail media, of course, loyalty and insights, and media and demand generation.
And I'm Ben Dixon, so Head of Retail Media at QSIC. So I work with a lot of our retailers to help them monetize their retail media strategy, leveraging AI-powered in-store audio. So very happy to be here.
This in-store audio, that's what we'll be talking about today. Now, we're looking to talk about innovative case studies, and you've got a really compelling one at Coles Liquor Group. So let's kick it off with that. Can you tell us a little bit about what you've done to transform that in-store experience?
So I think it's important to remember that we do exactly what our competitors do. Okay, we all sell the same alcohol brands. We might have a little bit of differentiation with regards to exclusive brands, but essentially our offer is the same. And if you're going to base it all on price, then it's going to be a race to the bottom pretty quickly. So the way to really win and engage is to make sure that you're talking and engaging and driving that loyalty with your customers. And so for us, it was all around how do we truly differentiate for our customers and for every customer. And to be able to do that, we really had to think about what is the role of retail media in this space and how do we actually use it to really differentiate and drive a seamless customer experience. So working with Ben and our partners at QSIC, it was around what do we do to actually elevate the in-store experience. We do a really strong job of being able to talk to the customers on their path to purchase. And then when you get into store, it can be quite, I would say, it can be quite sterile sometimes. In other stores, you could be bombarded with point of sale. And we didn't want to be, cluttered when we wanted to be curated, we wanted to be considered. So one of the best ways to be able to do that was actually through our audio. And we wanted to ensure it wasn't transactional, but it was more considered. So working with Ben and the team, we were able to implement the QSIC platform, which allows us and has allowed us to be really personalised and really intelligently driven to connect with our customers at the part of the journey when they're at the point of purchase. So getting them into that store, if they then can't find the product, that's often where you do have people in different categories that either their mind's made up or they're going to be open to change their mind. And the in-store audio has allowed us to be able to be dynamic in that space, connect with customers at times when they essentially are looking for suggestions or they're looking for maybe different offers, premiumization, and give them a solution that they may not have considered before. So that's something that's been really exciting. We've been rolling that out for the last year, and what we've seen is a real step change in our customer engagement in store.
Yeah, and I think, Mia and the team really pushed us in terms of their journey to make those store experience more dynamic and responsive. And from an audio perspective, if you kind of step back, traditionally audio and the role that it's played in a retail environment has been relatively, for many, a static one. And so it's a one-size-fits-all strategy. I build out my curated playlist, I have my ad campaigns that I want to run, and I deploy it. And there's no level of intelligence, there's really no level of targeting. And in fact, if you're a store, you've got 960 stores, it's the same song that plays at the same time in every single store, same ad, regardless of state, context, anything. And so, that's a big shift to get to. And so, what we've ended up doing at QSIC is we integrate an individual audio stream into every single Coles store. So now it's this live and responsive ecosystem that can dynamically change and modify the audio content based on what is happening in store at any given time. And so, you speak a lot about data, leveraging data. So unlock the keys for us to leverage point-of-sale transaction data, which means right down to an individual store level, we can map the sales demand profiles of every single store. So,
I think that's quite important. It's not just the sales of every single store, but right down to the hour of the day, and actually overlay that with seasonal patterns, weather patterns. We were able to then build up a profile of, at certain times, you tend to see this category really come to the forefront. And so now what we're able to do is actually, as you said, right down to every store, or even, you know, the demographic of the community, have appropriate messaging and music and audio that actually really connect. So it's not just about the sales, it's about elevating that in-store experience that actually connects with the customer, that makes them have this feeling that there's something intuitive happening in my Liquorland that really knows how I'm feeling, what I'm thinking, and actually has served me a product and made me feel really good about it as well.
yeah, and I think with that level of integration and technology and responsiveness, we've now shifted it from this static asset to, you know, a performance channel, which we know in the context of retail media, you know, that is so important. And so now, like even general and stepping even beyond, you know, Coles Liquor across, you know, the 6,000 stores we operate across APAC, we know that when you're comparing, say, a static audio solution, so same song, same ad, versus a dynamic one that is actually playing contextually the right ad, when they know that that is the relevant moment to kind of drive conversion or best opportunity too, we're seeing a 2.5 to 3 times incremental sales uplift across the board.
Now, you probably can't talk specific numbers, but I'd love to know sort of learnings from the experience itself and sort of what the next steps are.
I will definitely preface that by saying it's year end, and so we are in blackout, and I actually can't talk to specific results.
They're really good though.
But they're really good. But we actually did have this rolled out in our Coles Express business before it came to Liquorland, and so we were able to get some excellent proof points from there. We saw double, triple digit growth in some categories and specifically on some brands. But when we were you know, rolling it out with our stores, one of the things that we learned is it's really important to educate your team members on why you're doing this, so that they understand as well why they might have heard, you know, this ad 3 times Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. because we're attracting the customer that's going home and they're buying their beers for the footy, and, you know, they're really engaging on it's Friday night. So, for example, you know, they understood that. That also then gets them as advocates so that they're able to talk about it as well, and they become really complementary to the audio messaging. So having your team members on board and not just rolling out an audio system where they just don't really know what it's all about is absolutely crucial. Another thing is making sure then what we learned was having all of our teams lined up on what is the plan. So through your normal, let's say, planning process as you go, you know, we're gonna, it's Mother's Day, right? We're going to be doing this above the line. You're going to see this in sort of out of home, and then, you know, through all of the retargeting, they're going to get served, you know, this champagne, for example, and then really communicating to the teams and to the business that, and it filters right through to the audio, and here's the messaging that we're going to be doing. So making sure that you are absolutely showing that complete through the line piece is important. But I'd say the most important piece is really elevating or communicating who you're targeting and why. You know, we don't exist without our customers. And so being able to talk to our teams about the customer types that we have, the segmentation, the personas, and that this is targeting this customer with this whole plan. It shows how you're seamlessly integrating the full connective tissue, so to speak, to be able to talk to, you know, Pizza or Juan, for example, and deliver both of those the messages that they need and when they want the messages as well.
Great. Well, that actually brings me to a question for you, Ben, and that's around how do you ensure this tech complements the customer experience and is a genuine value add and doesn't take away from that?
Yeah, and so, you know, customer can be defined a few ways. So if we're talking customer as in those that are actually shopping in store, really it comes down to, which I know has been a bit of a buzzword today, but relevancy. So when I walk in the store, obviously from an ambience perspective, we know music creates a mood and a mindset. So if I'm a uni student on a Thursday night buying my prees versus a Sunday lazy Pinot Noir roast. We need to have a roast together actually, man. And you know, you need to make sure obviously the curation strategy is on point and it's we're leveraging data to do that. But also relevancy from an audio messaging point of view. And so it needs to really relate to what is my purchase intent. And you know, Mia, often you are all over us about obviously making sure the right message at the right
stores.
time. She does. And so for that, it's about relevancy. You know, the staff are really important. You know, they're a huge asset, and they're sitting in that store 15 hours a day. So, you know, that's about not only just improving their experience from the curation point of view, but removing friction. So when you talk audio, volume control, it's the #1 friction point of any retailer. And so for us, you know, it's about how do we leverage technology to remove that friction. And so what we've done with CLG is we've integrated what we call a proprietary tech called AVA, stands for Autonomous Volume Adjustment. So it's an ambient noise sensor that sits in the store, moderates volume levels, increases, decreases to the edge of the flow of the store, so the customers can just, or the staff can just obviously concentrate on serving their customers. And then obviously customer being what's in it for retailers and brands. And I've kind of touched on it already, it's about making it really become that performance channel. Something that's actually measurable, but also just, which we might touch on a bit more in a sec, which is the automation component. You know, when you're getting to that level of targeting capability of essentially treating 960 stores as their own ecosystem, so it's not one campaign, it's 960 campaigns running at once. Yeah, there's a level of sophistication that needs to be there, and it needs to be easy. And so that's obviously with the integration of automation and AI. Bing?
I can give you a really good example actually of how that's played out quite well. If we think about state of origin that's on at the moment, and we were able to segment right down to store level, where, you know, some of the, I don't know if you've got any Queenslanders or New South Wales in the audience, but they call them the FOGs, former origin grades. And, you know, so we were able to find out where some of the origin grades were, they were from, and actually really put targeted state of origin messaging into those stores in Queensland, you know, so really connecting with the local community. And you just wouldn't be able to do that if you weren't able to have that intelligence or that dynamism and just really speak to the community and not just the customer as well.
Yeah, and I was going to build on that. Like, one thing that Mia always talks about is obviously, you know, creative in context, and I know that came up today. So we have, you know, one of the toolings that we've been utilising is the generative AI tooling, where we can essentially, rather than deploy one static ad across the network, we can essentially deploy as many ads as you like in seconds. And so through just a quick prompt, we can generate a script, we can choose male, female voice, we can create audio in seconds as opposed to days. And that deployment kind of unlocks a whole range of things for us to kind of test and learn, and particularly around A/B testing, the role that creative plays, which we've heard today, is obviously really drives impact.
Yeah, well, that is pretty relevant to, I think, a lot of people in the room. That testing piece is really important. And I think the question I've had throughout the whole day is, how do you measure return on investment when it comes to this thing?
I mean, there's the obvious lead indicators, like, you know, the sales uplift, specifically if you're working with suppliers on particular brands. That's pretty easy to have a look at, because you can actually do timed sales data and actually know when you've pushed out a certain brand or, you know, a portfolio. And so it's super easy to look at. But then there's the, you know, lag indicators as well, such as, you know, customer satisfaction that we get through our loyalty program. We're able to ask them questions, you know, around how was your in-store experience. We can even ask them questions right down to, you know, did you notice an ad? Did you notice the audio? But then there's been other sort of ways that we can look at the ROI, and through our employee engagement surveys. You know, our team members are actually highly engaged with the fact now that the audio is specific to their store. And, you know, we've actually had great feedback from the team members where they've said, hey, when it's a quiet period, this is my playlist that I'd love to hear. And as long as it's not 9 Inch Nails, we kind of tend to let them kind of go, you know what, you know, no, that requires a wee bit of sort of, not massive massive amount of resource because it's all automated, but it just, we want to make sure that they're really enjoying their job, but they're not taking away from their day job as well. But it just gives them that little pep in their step when they realise it's not just personalised for the customer, it is personalised for them, and we see that through employee engagement scores as well.
Yeah, and attribution is obviously a big conversation, particularly when you're investing in any channel. And actually in the network on table 5 earlier, we spoke about the challenges of making the results tangible, particularly to those key stakeholders. And audio as a channel, as an ambient channel, you can't see it. It's not a tangible thing. And so we've obsessed over obviously the attribution piece, and just without going too deep in terms of the methodology side of things, every time we run an audio ad campaign, we'll have a subset of control stores to benchmark against. We'll look at so we can start to look at the incrementality when we can compare the two. It's obviously we've got every metric that you want: ROAS, incremental, iROAS, sales attribution side of things. So all the audio is timestamped. We've obviously got live feeds to the point of sale transaction data, and everything at a click of the button. So Mia can click in to see at any time, at any point of the campaign, how's it performing. Which again, is that tooling and tech that's bringing that tangibility to it, which is really helpful from an ROI perspective.
Now, looking ahead 2 to 3 years, what do you think is the most exciting in-store innovation in the works, and what role will the tech we've discussed today play in that? Because I'm thinking of patenting smell-o-vision off the back of today's conversation. I feel like that's the obvious next step, but I think you might have some more tangible ones.
Got to be careful. It's not like coriander. Some people love it and some people smell soap. So, yeah, curate that one carefully. I think the integration with loyalty and personalisation, we've spoke about that. JJ and Lauren spoke about that in the last session as well. And to be able to integrate with our loyalty data is absolutely key to developing that connection journey for our customers and serving them offers. So for example, imagine that you're going into your local Liquorland store and it's Thursday evening and it's like telling you get ready for the weekend, and you're standing, because you'll be able to pick up where you are in the store. You're standing in front of the cocktail bay, that you've been looking for cocktails or you've bought them in the past, and serving you content there and then on what to do and what you need to buy, and then even right through to how you make it and what you pair it with from a recipe that you can get in your supermarket in Coles, for example. And so it's a complete 360 opportunity and offering that will, just really be tailored for you. So being able to have that dynamic sort of connection with the customer, and it's right down to where they are. So it's really intuitive, it knows where you are. I think that's where we have to go to. I think as well, incorporating or external environments. So we have a lot of partnerships and sponsorships, and I think about the fact that we, have Cricket Australia as a partner. We, this summer we're going to be, sponsoring the Ashes. Imagine you're standing in store and you're not able to sit down and potentially give yourself 8 hours a day to watch the test, but you're, able to cut through when there's that, somebody scores, the century, and we can push out an offer straight away. So we're able to take what's happening outside in the environment so you don't miss a moment just because you've decided to do your shop, or you're being interrupted, in your whole path to purchase with that communication or that offer. It's got to be tailored though, and it's got to be personalised and contextually relevant for the time. So it's not just about, it's me, I love a Cosmopolitan and I get served that at 10 o'clock in the morning. It's got to be at the right time when I'm on my journey. I mean, I'd be happy with that actually, yeah. Let's be honest. That would not upset me at all. But it would be more around, okay, I'm on my 3rd bottle of wine then, and it's like, maybe you should have some water. So it's the timing and not just it's the timing and the tempo, not just the, just the period of who you are. So really just connecting with you to really derive that, more connection, more field,
Yeah, looking ahead over the next 2-3 years, when you take in the context of you have these hyper-targeted precision technology now that can automate it and contextualise creative in that moment, you kind of go, geez, how do you start building on that? And, something that we know that we're obsessing over, and it's probably, other channels as well, is around mid-flight optimisation. So, you know, the notion that rather than have a 2-week campaign, I wait to the end to see how's that performed. Geez, I wish I could have done something during that as it was tanking on day 7. You know, what you're going to see is the ability for the platform to optimise itself in effectively real time. You know, there's a balance between obviously letting campaigns go so you get learnings and you can see where the failings are, but it might not be at a network level. It might just be a cluster of stores, for example, that are failing, and so it's kind of like, what is it? And it might be, you know, understanding, oh, stock, it's run out of stock. But so campaign mid-flight optimisation is going to be one, because I think there's more pressure that's going to come on us around building a performance media channel to continue to improve and drive results over the years. The other area which isn't necessarily, you know, exclusively for audio, but you know, it's the cumbersome nature of what it takes to put campaigns together. So, you know, you look at from a planning side of things, you know, you have a product or a brand, and you leverage data to then draw insight to build, you know, an omni-channel strategy. I then execute on, I have to brief in people, I have to brief in the creative, I have to execute on it, I then got to report back in on it. You know, there's highly manual processes in there and lots of stakeholders, and what you're going to see is the needle will be threaded automatically. So you would literally, like a ChatGPT prompt in the next few years, be able to say, over 200k, I want to build a beer campaign, and it's for Easter, recommend a campaign to me, and it will give it to you, and you'll accept it and deploy it. Obviously, there's going to be levels of input and strict macro rules around it, but it's that level of automation and insight that is just going to unlock phenomenal opportunity.
I want to just add there what you were saying about out of stocks. That is something that's actually really important to not just us but to customers, right? We know that customers will leave a store if they can't find certain products. Beer, for example, is a highly predetermined purchase. You know, if you're a cotton craft drinker, you're not going to necessarily switch to VB all of a sudden, right? So if they don't get their pack format or their brand, they're potentially going to walk out. Being able to know and maximise our suppliers' investments in our retail media network is key by linking in with our on-demand scheduling to know that don't push that ad out to Southland because they're actually running low on their 30 packs of cotton draft cans. They're not getting stock until 6 p.m. Reschedule it if, you know, the stock is in on time at 6 p.m. Being able to really control your business to that level of granularity is absolutely crucial, because we know availability is a massive customer problem, and we don't want to lose that shopper, that customer, because we don't have it in stock and we might have been telling them through our audio. So the connection to really seamlessly integrate through all of our back end is also a really big opportunity for the future.
Yeah, absolutely. That connection piece is so important. We do actually not have any time left, unfortunately. I'm going to pass over to Grant in a second for our final presentation. I'd like to thank you too. Thank you for sharing, and they'll be around the rest of the afternoon if you do have any follow-up questions. Thank you.